Good afternoon. Welcome to this presentation on Soil Health Interpretation Portal, an expandable exploratory database to compare management practice influence on Iowa's regional soil health. My name is Suzanne Fye. This project began with Iowa Soybean Association applying for an Iowa NRCS Conservation Innovation Grant and working with Iowa corn growers to collaborate on using shared data for soil health testing. Now, first, I'm going to begin with a quick walkthrough of the SHIP features. When you open the portal, this is your welcome screen. First thing that comes up are maps. This is the most important map. It is of Iowa's subregions. If you click on a subregion, the map will tell you a little bit about it. You can also read more. If you click on that, it'll bring up an entire screen of information about that subregion. Other maps that are included are ones that are relevant to generating shape scores, which I will be talking about presently, for 30-year average temperature, 30-year average precipitation. Other maps include the soil health test sites and the soil fertility test sites that are in the benchmark databases in the quick look. There's one other set of maps, and I will be presenting them when I talk about the quick look, which is now. Under quick looks, this is the heart and soul of this tool. So if you click on that tab, it'll open to a page that you see on the left. You can access then both databases. It opens to the standard data, and you can click on a tab to just see the soil health data. Now, the standard database includes over 850 soil samples that were taken a decade ago as part of a nutrient benchmarking survey that was conducted by Iowa Soybean Association. These data can be removed from your samples by clicking on cover crop status unknown. We do not have cover crop status data on those samples, but both databases have information from 59 sites that were used in research. So below the maps is a section called field parameters. You just have to keep scrolling down in the quick look to get to each of the sections. So under field parameters, this allows you to select one or more of the physiographic subregions. The default is all Iowa. So if you do not upload data, you will automatically be shown all of Iowa. So if you click beside the drop down, it'll give you the list of the subregions. You can click on the ones that you want to include, click on anything you want to delete. So for example, if you just want to see those two subregions, you click on all Iowa, hit delete, and automatically your map will be updated to just show the subregions of interest. And now this will also only summarize your data of interest. So when you upload georeferenced lab data, again, it'll only automatically reflect your subregion for comparison. So if you scroll below the map, you'll come to the data that's included in the tool. So for your standard data, in this particular example, I have selected no cover crops is what I want to see. And it will show you the 2011 good area averages, other year soil test averages, and 2011 poor area averages. This is how we asked farmers in 2011 to sample 2 areas of their field for comparison purposes. These are the metrics that we will show you for your standard fertility test data that we have averaged by subregion. Over on the right, you can see the subregion soil organic carbon scores, which were calculated from organic matter, and the shape SOC score. Again, I'll be talking about shape very soon. For the soil health test data, we will show these metrics. And again, on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see the averages of organic carbon and the shape score by subregion. So information on all of those is available under frequently asked questions. Now we get to this, which is what is a shape score and why have we incorporated it into the tool? Well, first of all, soil health tests are pretty new and they are quite a bit more expensive than the standard soil fertility tests conducted by farmers. And we wanted this tool to be to have soil health metrics that were accessible to a wide audience. So the shape score uses soil organic carbon and it can be calculated from organic matter. So this is one of the key reasons we wanted to include it. Also, it uses 30-year average temperature and precipitation data and soil texture and taxonomy, which are layers that we can incorporate into our Shiny platform that we are using for this tool. Finally, the USDA lab was very generous in providing us with the code. So if we had the background data set, we would be able to calculate these scores for anyone who uploaded their data, as well as for our background data sets. So SHAPE stands for Soil Health Assessment Protocol and Evaluation. Now, one of the things that we really love about the SHAPE score is that it's based on how efficiently your soil is performing relative to its estimated capacity. And this means that it's a relative score rather than an absolute score. So if you have great soil and you already know that, it's not reinforcing that. It's saying, well, yeah, you have great soil, but how well is it performing compared to how well it could perform? The one thing that the SHAPE doesn't include that we feel is kind of an important factor is slope. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. The SHIP does incorporate your SHAPE scores by physiographic subregion. This is going to show you a little bit why. So if we look at the erosion patterns for the state of Iowa, you can see that slope is a definite factor in the ability of a landscape to retain its topsoil. And we feel that this does have to do with how well your subregion may perform on that test. So the physiographic subregions, this is a map. It shows subregions. It was developed in 2019 at Iowa State University. And this is what we use as our comparative infrastructure that we feel is most closely will reflect an apples to apples comparison. So what are we seeing when we look at the background data? And the following data and maps were generated by the SHIP. So here we have the 2011 sites, and these are 15 subregions that we have matching data for soil health test sites. And you can see by the color that they're largely red and orange, which shows that they are lower scores, as well as light gray, which is lower scores than the darker grays. And all of these fields in 2011, only about a third of them were using any no-till practices whatsoever, and other conservation practices like cover crops were not widely used at all. Over on the right, all of the fields that are in our research data set were pretty much using no-till practices, and at least 50% of the samples that we have, because we did comparisons, were using cover crops. So you can see that there is quite a bit of difference in the color alone of the different scores by subregion. So if you lay that out on the state, you can see that the Des Moines lobe, both previously and currently, performs pretty well. And you see that on the edges of the state, along the rivers, that these areas typically have lower scores. And when we look at the back slope, okay, so you have the summit of the hill, you have the shoulder. The back slope is the part of the topography where water can pick up speed and can increase the amount of erosion before you get to the foot slope or the toe slope. And here I've highlighted all of the subregions that have rolling in the name. So Audubon rolling plains, Grundy Center rolling plains, etc. And you can see that if they happen to have a higher percentage of back slope, that the scores are not as good as ones that have a lower back slope, like lower percentage of back slope, like Grundy Center, for example. We also took a look at the depth of the loess topsoil. And if you look at some of the like the Winterset rolling plains and the Woodbine rolling plains, you see that there's quite a bit of topsoil of loess in the topsoil layer. These are not all scientific. This is just looking at the data, the raw data without any depth. So it's not really a scientific analysis here, but these are just interesting things that we are seeing when we look at the data. And here I did map that out, and I highlighted in with a box the ones that have the higher slopes above 50%, and you can see that they all tend to be around the landform regions in most of northern Iowa, other than the Paleozoic Plateau. So in the quick look, you can upload your data. You can browse to it. You can upload it. It'll show you the scores that are tracked in the SHIP database. It'll calculate your shape scores. It'll then automatically show what your subregion is and show the mean scores for that. And it will update the map to show just your subregion, where the samples were taken, if there is background data, and where your field is located relative to those samples. At this point, you will be given a choice to generate your soil health report or donate your soil health data. No donation is ever required. If you want to see your soil health test report of the shape score, it'll show a map of your data, and it'll describe the subregion, and then it'll show your test results in a graph. So next is extras, and under the extras tab, you can get a full report of all the subregions. You can download it as a PDF. You can see a sample report like the one that I just had up on the screen, and you can also get a copy of the SEMA 216, which is USDA's soil health testing protocol. Then we have FAQs, frequently asked questions. We have two tabs here, one for soil health and one for this portal. Finally, we have instructions and accounts. We have three instructions. One is for quick look, one is for data preparation if you do want to upload your data, and one is for the free account. If you have a free account, it will save your data by field, and you can go back and add data to it. Otherwise, if you plan to donate data, you will be asked these questions as well. We need a field name. It will provide a default name for donations, but if you have an account, you might want to name it as something you can remember. Then we ask for those three management categories, whether or not you have manure management, tillage type, cover crop management, and then after you add that data, it will ask you for a lab. This will help us on the back end to vet data that we may or may not be able to add to background database. We also need to know the sample year and month. We do hope to be able to add filtering by these when we have more data in the database, as well as the crop of the sample year and the prior year, minimum and maximum depth of samples. If in either case, whether you're opening an account, whether you're adding this to an account, or just doing a quick look, you'll get this graph when you upload your data. It'll ask you if you want to generate a soil health report. Account holders can request expert advice. Otherwise, you can simply exit the database and your data will be released. So what is next? We hope to increase the background data set through research and donations. We want to add features to allow filtering. We want to add statistical analyses and put them in the extras. We'd also like to develop an Iowa-centric relative soil health measure that does include the topographical information, as well as the things that were included in the shape. So going to stop the recording at this time and allow you to ask questions. Thank you very much.